grading STEM. So kindly watch this pre-recorded video so that you're able to enrich your learnings in our subject, Earth Science. So I will make sure that the discussion is even more concise than you expected. So let's start. So this one is are the topics that we'll covering for this video. So first lesson we'll cover is under the 15th module is entitled Geological Process on the Surface of the Earth, wherein we're focused with the three main terms. We have the weathering, erosion, and the deposition. So as you can see, so we have the three types. So where industry are connected to each other. So the very simple explanation with this is that weathering can be occurred by this multiple initiators or key factors. So we have the wind, the rains, and others. Wind, water, rain, and even soil. So we have also the erosion. So pag pipisiplihin natin erode. So it erodes from even high areas to the lower areas. So we have also the deposition. So ang simple term lang na deposition is just deposited or coming from the high areas into a lower area, diyan na siya nag-stop. So, deposited na siya. So, yun, yung pinakasimpleng explanation niya. Ah, so, naturally, tinatawag natin silang mga natural geologic events. So, yes, natural lang siya na nangyayari. So let's start with the weathering. So the simple definition of weathering is the breaking down of dissolving rocks and minerals. So weathering can occur major in rocks and or even the minerals. So ayan, hahati siya sa dalawang parts. So we have the physical and the chemical. So papasimplihin na lang din natin. Pag sinabi po nating physical, so ibig sabihin change state of matter, yung state of matter lang yung nababago. I'm sorry, yung sizes lang ng nababago. So, kumbaga, yung isang object naging solid, then, not, example, yellow, pag yung yellow is natunaw, nag-change lang siya ng state of matter. So, under siya dito sa physical weathering, kumbaga, walang nabago sa mismong component ng isang rocks or soil. So, obviously, ang kabaliktaran ng physical weathering is the chemical weathering. So, the keyword here is may changes sa chemical composition niya. So, again, a sign of chemical weathering is pagkakaroon ng changes ng kulay ng mismong rock, pagkakaroon ng amoy, changes sa pagbabago sa smell ng mismong minerals or a rock. So, yun lang po yung pinagkaiba. Ang two types of weathering. So, here, under the physical weathering, are also known as mechanical weathering or mechanical disintegration, meron tayong ditong common example. So we have the frost wedging, salt crystal growth, aberration, and biological activity. So ang pinakasikat dito na kadalasan na tinatanong is biological activity. So naturally, plants and animals are agents of mechanical weathering. We are humans. So tayo yung mga major or agents of weathering kasi nga naturally nag-interact tayo sa environment natin. So ayun. So the rest, please read this. So next we have, ayan pa, we have the pressure release, fracturing, organic activity, soil collected rocks, and thermal expansion and construction. So under the chemical weathering, yes, sa chemical na tayo, we have the dissolution, oxidation, hydrolysis, and carbonation. These are four common processes na nangyayari that's result to change with its chemical composition mismo sa isang rocks. So, example ito, dissolution. Dissolution of molecules into ions. Common example includes dissolution of calcite and salt. So, ayun. So, oxidation, reaction between minerals and oxygen dissolved in a water. So, example na lang dito is Statue of Liberty. So, kung tandaan niyo man siya, yung Statue of Liberty sa USA, wherein dati iba yung kulay niya. Right now, medyo green na siya kasi nga nag-oxidize na siya. Nakapa-experience siya ng chemical weathering. So, yun po. So, again, tandaan niyo lang, physical, change lang or sizes lang yung nagbabago yung state of matter and changes niya. While for the chemical, may nagkaroon lang ng changes mismo sa composition niya. So, ang pinaka-observable ways natin para ma-identify na magkaroon siya ng chemical weathering is nagkaroon siya ng changes sa kulay, sa sizes, of course, appearance, and others pa. Ayan. Factors that affects the types, extent, and rate which weathering takes place. So, that includes the climate and the rock type. So, this one is self-explanatory na po. So, we have also the rock structure, the topography, and time. So, let's next proceed to erosion. So, again, ang pinaka-simple definition ni erosion, process of transporting weathered minerals. So, successive process siya after the weather process. So, kung yung na-weathered rocks is, disintegrated rocks is located siya sa mas mataas na area, so, possible na magkaroon siya ng, pwede siya mag-erode. So, that's a process called erosion. So, the agent of erosion, please remember this, the water, waves, wind, gravity, and glaciers. So, walang mangyayaring erosion or kaka-erode kung walang mga agents like this. So, water, wind, gravity, and glaciers. So, meron tayong common types of erosion, but glacier erosion, the first type, is the most obvious and lagging pinaka-popular na type ng erosion. So, bakit pa? Babasahin natin. So, as you can see in the picture, so, often nangyayari siya sa cold areas sa planet natin. So, by definition, due to process called flocking, and they are transported from slope within a glacier capable of producing distinct U-shaped valley. So, yung tandaan yung keyword ha, U-shaped valley. So, glacier or basically sa mga areas na malalamig na natatambakan ng mga glaciers. Ayan, glacier erosion. So, mostly makikita to sa northern and southern of our planet. Next, we have the fluvial erosion. So, under fluvial erosion, ayan, nakita niyo yung fluvial, ibig sabihin, generally, may component siya ng water. So, under this category, meron tayong tatlong types. We have the rain, splash, sheet, and real erosion. So, try natin, please remember this three. So, kadalasan, tinatanong si rain splash. So, madali lang ma-distinguish si rain splash. Of course, with the impact of raindrops, loosen, and mobiles. So, ito yung pinaka-common actually na under types of fluvial since when or rocks experience a strong splash of water, basically, kaya niyang i-push yung isang bagay. Syempre, depende na din yung rock, whether it is magaan or mabigat. Pero, syempre, kung mas mabigat yung mismong rock, it requires even large amount of splash of the rain. So, in order to move, ayun po. So, ito, tinatanong din to, common types of erosion, sheet erosion, a process where particle loosened by rain splash. Almost similar siya kay rain, but instead of a typical na pure liquid, a sheet erosion is just, may halo siyang konting frozen na yellow. Kumbaga, sheet erosion loosened by a rain splash, transported by a run of water down a slope. Please remember the keyword, the run of water. So, kung yung water na continuously na nagmo-move. So, next, we have the real erosion. Of course, when water concentrate during sheet erosion and erode small reels on the surface that channel flow down slope. So, real erosion is almost similar to sheet erosion, but this is mas nangyayari siya into ito kadalasan sa mga waters na mas malapit sa bodies of water. Like for example, which is the streams and the running waters. So, ayun. Mga streams or literally malapit sa mga flowy bodies of water po. Serial erosion. Ayun. Next, we have the Olean or a wind erosion. So, kung meron tayong water, meron din tayong wind. Kasi nga sabi natin kanina that madaming agents para magkaroon ng erosion. So, we have the wind, Olean erosion. We have deflation and aberration. So, please read this. So, ang tatandaan dito keyword is for depletion, transport particles through air along with the ground. So, connected siya close to the ground. For aberration, when untransported particles call features through sand blasting. May halo siyang sand. So, under, we have also the gravity, the coherence, and incoherence. So, ayun, pabasa na lang po ako. So, just remember, kung ano lang po yung pina-highlight ko, possibly doon po siya possible na lumabas sa exam ninyo. So, next type, under process this, we have the deposition. Kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, is deposition is just a process of placing specific fragments of our rocks coming from whether eroded from after the weathering is deposition. Kung baga, na-deposit lang na mga rocks na move from one place to another. Deposition. A process adds sediment, soil, rocks to landform and landmass. So, basically, nagsama-sama na in a given time possible na magkaroon ng cementation. So, probably yung isang rocks na to, from eroded place to one eroded place to another, probably can create another rocks. Ayun. Deposited siya nga. Ganon. Pwede siyang ma-deposit sa close to bodies of water. Then, pwede din siyang ma-deposit sa ah, mountains. So, I mean, yung mga soil areas. So, depende po. So, okay na tayo dito. Next topic, we have the continental drift theory. So, continental drift theory is basically popularly kilalang-kilala ng lahat kasi simula't simula pa lang is nadi-discuss pa natin sa inyo ng grade 10 kayo. Which is, yung pinakasikat dito na theorist is si Wegener. So, all si Alfred Wegener, syempre. Pero may mga ilang scientist tayo dito na mention. So, ayan. So, this is the summary of continental drift theory. Continent drift. Ibig sabihin, nag-split apart theory. Kung paano nag-split apart yung isang continent. So, ito yung theory that describe that a specific continent, a supercontinent, of course, yung kinakilala na lahat, Pangaea, is nag-split apart siya into current continents that we have, which is 7. So, nakita nyo from supercontinent Pangaea, Laurasia, and Gondwanaland. So, Pangaea yung supercontinent na focus dito. But, mind you class, Pangaea is not the first ever supercontinent that ever created. Meron pang mas nauna sa kanya, which is, i-discuss natin siya later sa geologic timescale. So, yun lang po. Sa papasiplin natin, continental drift theory, a theory that explains that a supercontinent Pangaea split apart into into the current continents that we have right now. Ayan. So, ito siya. So, ayan, pinakita siya from Paleozoic, si Pangaea na-create around 245 million years ago and to now that we have, ayan. So, continental drift theory. So, his observer in 1596 observed a shape of continents both sides of Atlantic Oceans. Observed were supported by proofs, circulation, earthquakes, and flooding. So, this idea about continental drift theory came from Abraham Ortelius. So, isa siya sa mga known person na nag-try to explain a continental drift theory din. So, kumbaga, hindi lang si Wegener talaga alone yung nag-come up. Pero syempre mas sikat si Wegener. So let's proceed to Alfred Wegener. A geophysicist, he developed a hypothesized a continental drift theory. He believes that a supercontinental land called Pangaea, again, pag kay Pangaea siya nakafocus, reference to Edward Seuss and claim the existence of supercontinent Gondwanaland and these seas supercontinents. So, again, kagaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo kanina, hindi po si Benjamin yung pinakauna. Meron pang mas nauna sa kanya, but siya yung pinaka-sikat or well-known in terms with continental drift theory. But, as first remember, Wegener's theory was rejected. Opo, yung theory niya about supercontinent Pangaea and bakit nangyari ngayon is kulang pa na-reject. Bakit kaya? The main reason is that kulang yung explanation niya, kulang yung nai-present niyang evidences. So, ano yung mga evidence na mention ni ah, Wegener? So, meron tayong groups of evidence na dinescribe ni Wegener, which are the jigsaw puzzles, fossils, record, syempre mga fossils, glacification, and matching mountains. So, ito lang yung group of evidence generally, kasi madaming evidence na present si Wegener. Pero yun nga, pag sinummarize or mas categorize siya is mahahati lang siya sa apat na major evidences. So, ito po yung itsura niya. Again, paulit-ulit natin from Jaya, nag-split apart siya into Tularesia, Ganwanalan, into right now. Ayun po. So, ito yung mga pictures to showcase the evidence based kay Wegener. So, sunod-sunod yan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ayan. Start with a jigsaw puzzle. Continents fit likes a puzzle. So, totoo yan. This one based, as you can see in the picture, that from out of 7 continents that we have, may portions na nag-fit together yung continent natin. So, it makes sense naman yung explanation ni Wegener. Second is the fossil. So, wherein my logic naman yung explanation ni Wegener that we can ang nakita na fossil dito from one continent to another is similar to each other. So, how come na mapunta yung isang fossil from one place to another? Like, for example, dito, a fossil of Ganatos and a fossil of Lestrosaurus. So, since magkakaiba sila ng area, how can you explain na may similarities sila? So, it makes sense na they come up from a similar structure, same family, same sila ng pinanggalingan. So, ibig sabihin, hindi naman mag-split apart yung mga organism na 'to kung hindi sila once na nagkaroon ng similar location. So, ayun, may idea naman dito si Wegener. Next, we have the glaciation, a climate evidence such as glaciers in areas that are now close to equators. So, yun. And matching mountains. So, the further explanation, ayan kanina, sa fossils. So, ayan, pag sinabi po natin fossils, again, the remains or biological organism from the past. So, mostly, always remember class, gaya ng sinabi ko before, only hard bodies organism can sustain long fossilized. Kumbaga, yung may mga vertebrates or yung may mga muscled organisms lang yung possible na ma-fossilize or ma-retain until now. Kasi nga, yung mga soft-bodied organism o yung walang mga vertebrates, mabilis ma-wash out yan kasi nga continuously nag-change yung planet natin. So, I mean, continuously nag-change continuously nagcha-change yung, environment natin. So, ayun po, kung nakikita niyo dito, this one almost similar to birds, this one, a fossil of a dinosaur, this one is similar to old fish, this one is a fossil of a previous plant family. So, obviously, they have the vertebrates. So, bakit na-discover pa natin siya until now? Next, we have the presence of thelites. So, thelites are mostly makikita din siya sa rocks. So, sa thelites, siya po yung tawag natin sa mga sabi dito, deposited from rock strata in place that were once covered in a snow. So, basically, nakita din siya sa bato. So, sa portion or this white part in a rock, we call it as thelites. So, it's a sign that this rock is covered by in a frozen area before. So, which is this rock is covered in a tropical area now. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga rocks na to is possibly nag-exist na siya into a cold areas na. So, it makes sense naman yung explanation ni Wegener. Next, we have presence of a cold or seems polar region. So, di ba, itong cold or yung mga uling, basically, located siya sa tropical areas like our country, Philippines. Pero, merong na-discover din na mga coal sa cold areas or sa mga Americans areas. So, how can you explain that? So, ibig sabihin, may logic din siya. Ayun, na once fitted yung continent natin. So, continuously also the mountains. So, similar rocks layer found in the mountains. So, they come up as similar rocks layers kasi nga pinag-aralan din nila yung old, yung days, yung years nung isang mountain to another is almost similar. So, yun, naging factor din yun. Pero even though sa sobrang daming evidence na sinabi si Wedger, kulang pa rin talaga siya. So ito dinagdag niya din similarities of rock types. So before, may idea na si Wegener about the rock types, syempre. So we have similars of rock layers found in mountains that are on the opposite side of Atlantic Ocean. So yun po. So again, sabi ko kahit madaming evidence i-present si Wegener, ang sabi lang dito, Wegener's theory of a continental reef was rejected kasi nga kulang yung explanation niya kasi nga hanggang continents lang siya, continental level. Kung baga, how can he explain that things happen below the water? Eh, kasi alam naman natin that in our planet right now, that 70% of our planet is made, or 90% of our water is covered by bodies of water. So, kulang pa. So, later on, in a given time, na-accept na din siya kasi nga may nag-evolve na bagong theory, which is, describe natin later. Ayan, proceed na tayo. The concept of expediting the plate tectonics movement. So, ayan, may video siya. So, nasa PowerPoint lang to. You can watch this for further more information pa po. So, under plate tectonics was born to support accurate pieces of evidence that would lead to explanation of moving continents. So, the idea of plate tectonics is connected then also to Wegener. So, siya naman yung theory na nag-explain that a plate move, which is connected to theory of Alfred Wegener, which is the continental drift theory. So, ano naman to? Sige, define natin. Plate tectonics theory, a geologist suggests that a repeating process, heating, cooling, produce current in a layer. Sige, papasimplihin na lang natin. Pag sinabi po nating plate tectonics is just, pag sinabi nating plate, so sa science, plate is just a portion of a crust na kung saan continuously siya na nagmo-move together. So, that's a plate. So, wherein na-mention ni Wengener kanina about the continents. So, continents is made out of plates. So, connected siya together. So, wherein ngayon, mako-cover natin, of course, yung tatlong types of boundaries under this plate tectonic series. So, under divergent, convergent, and transport. So, tatlo lang yan. So, simula't-simula. So, ito i-highlight ko lang dito. Nagkakaroon tayo ng plate tectonics, plate movements because of the changes internally. Yes, internally. So, that's why nagkakaroon din tayo ng tatlong types of boundary. Yung tinutukoy ko pong changes internally is the change in mantle convection current. So, tingnan natin mabuti ito. In this video, in this illustration picture, we can see that this one is a portion of the crust. Ayan, si crust. This one is a portion of the mantle. Di ba? Alam naman natin that among the types or layers of the earth, mantle is the thickest one. And mantle is made up of semi-fluid. So, since semi-fluid siya, it is possible na mag-boiled up siya due to extreme temperature. Siyempre, may source ng init. Saan nanggagaling yung init? Sa core itself mismo. So, naturally na mainit si mantle since may fluid siya kasi mas mabilis mag-travel yung heat mismo to be specific sa liquid. So, ayun, mas nagfo-flow up siya. So, dito tayo mag-focus sa illustration. So, mantle, dito nangyayari si convection current. So, kung si convection current is nagkaroon ng changes ng direction, kasi continuously, yung convection current natin nangyayari dito is one directional. Pero, due to changes with a temperature, possible na magkaroon siya ng changes ng temperature. So, because of that, nagkakaroon din siya ng changes ng direction or yung flow niya. So, because of that, it results to creation of hotspots or kung baga hotspot, ito yung area na nagko-connect from a mantle into volcanoes po. So, ibig sabihin, pag nagkaroon ng changes sa convection current, mataas yung chances na magkaroon ng volcanic eruption. So, another trivia about convection current, due from the history of our planet, changes of convection current, yung pinaka naging dahilan bakit nakalista or nakakreate tayo ng uh, greatest mass extinction sa history. Yes, yung pinaka main factor ang pinanggalingan ng greatest mass extinction sa history sa buong history natin sa Earth is due to changes in convection current. So, ano nangyari doon? Almost 90% of the living organisms that time is na-wash out na. So, kasi nga, nag-change lang, nagkaroon ng changes sa convection current. So, ganun siya. Ka-powerful. Hindi po yung pagpasok ng asteroid sa planet Earth natin. It is just a second, but a change of convection current being the main reason bakit nagkaroon ng greatest mass extinction. Majority sa mass extinction natin sa land po that time. So, ayan, sige, focus tayo dito sa types of boundaries. So, meron tayong tatlong types. Again, we have the divergent, convergent, and transport. So, divergent. For divergent, possible siya mangyari in a continental or a oceanic crust. So, kung sa oceanic or sa below the water siya, possible na magkaroon tayo ng land formation, which is the ridges. And also for convergent, pag below the ocean naman, we can create a trenches. And for the transport, so passive transport, kahit saan lang siya pwedeng mangyari din. So, we can create either of the mentioned. So, ito po yung mga common types. Ayun. So, divergent. So, ridges or rifts po or split apart. So careful with the direction. Pag sinabing divergent, divert, split apart. Ganun yung pinaka idea niya. Spread. S- Ayan, spread, split apart. Next, we have convergent, subduct, or nagbabanggaan. So, possibly can create a trenches. So, mas madalas siya nangyayari sa oceanic. So, can create a trench. Ayan, ito. So, kagaya ng pinakita natin kanina sa pinakauna, this one is a trench. So, possibly can create a trenches. Next, we have the transport. Madali lang siya. Nagkakaskasan. So, from plate one to another, near the asthenosphere. So, ayun po. May direction naman. So, please remember. Okay. So, kung napapansin niyo dito sa illustration, merong source of heat. So, saan ang galing yung source of heat? Again, nasa mantle po. Yun, change of convection current. So, okay na tayo. Types of boundaries. Yes, sila, types of plate boundaries ang tawag sa kanila. So, ayun po. Ito ba yung further illustration in your real life natin? So, divergent, again, yung pinangkaano natin dito, Gulf from hot magma. Then, common example here is Mid-Atlantic Ocean. Please remember, Mid-Atlantic Ocean, kadalasan, ito po siya. Ayan, below the ground. So, ibig sabihin, from the seafloor that we have, meron pang pinakamaliit or pinakamalalim na portion ng ocean natin. Fun fact, again, 5% lang po ng bodies of water that we have yung na-explore pa rin ng mga scientists natin. Ibig sabihin, meron pang sobrang laki pang porsyento yung hindi discover. So, mostly, maybe there are worlds that are something below the mid-Atlantic oceans. Meron pa. Maybe diyan nag-exist yung mga prehistoric organism pa na hindi na extinct na di natin alam. Kasi nga, hindi kaya. Hindi pa kaya na-explore. So, next we have the convergent boundaries. So, again, yung keyword natin dito is collide, subduct, or pag nagbanggaan, yung dalawang plate, either, ang possible na mangyayari, yung isang plate is magdediretso pababa. Kasi nga, wala namang siyang choice. So, all you have to do for one plate is mag-split, pumunta siya pababa. So, kaya nagkaroon tayo ng process called na subduction. So, under siya sa convergence. So, please remember the modern examples that we have. Western, ito yung pinakasikat. Himalayas. Yes, is Himalayas. Himalayas lagi siyang lumalabas. Next, of course, the very famous one example under transform fault boundaries is San Andreas Fault. So, ayan yung pinaka-bird's eye view illustration of Santa Andreas Fault. So, because of the split o sa pagkaskaasan ng mga plates. So, sobrang lawak niya talaga as in. Next, we have additional facts then under this is geologic folding and faulting. So, pag sinabi nating folding and faulting, connected pa rin siya sa bodies, crust or bodies of rocks and soil dito sa earth. So, it is a type for under geologic folding, it is a type of earth movement resulting to compression of rocks or strata or rock layers. Bending, curving, crumpling, buckling, and into folds are usually visible to rock strata. So, geologic folding is nangyayari siya due to the movement of the fault, of course. I'm sorry, the movement of the plates. So, dito, of course, since gumagalaw nga siya, nagkakaroon ng crushing sa mismong layers ng rocks. So, because of that, we can create this folds na tinatawag. Pag sinabi kasi nating strata, group or just a layer of a rock. So, under this is similar siya kay geologic folding and faulting. Ang pag sinabi nating fold lang is just a transfer, kumbaga yung pagkakaroon lang ng multiple layers of rocks due to continuous movement of Earth while for geologic faulting is pagkakaroon ng split sa mismong rock layers or mas kilala nating fault line. So, a type of movement forms crack. Ayan yung pinaka-keyword niya. Pag may nakita kayong crack, fault na agad yon. Fracture in a rocks. These cracks are called fault line. Faulting caused by internal force where earth displays blocks and rocks. So, kung ikukumpara natin siya, si folding is creating layers of rocks. While faulting is creating fracture or cracks between rocks. So, ayun yung pinagkaiba nila para mabilis yung ma-distinguish. So, under faulting, meron siyang common types. So, ang pinakasikat dito na of course is si volcanic and mountains. Under siya sa faulting. So, yun po. So, ayan, tuloy tayo. So, again kanina, hindi tayo nag-end kay Wegener. So, the idea of Wegener is furtherly instructed or nasupplayan pa ng further information explained by plate tectonics theory. And here, due to the rise of the third theory, which is the Seepler spreading theory, is lalong na-expand yung idea and mas naging accepted, yes, naging accepted na yung idea ni Wegener. Kung baga, na-fill in na yung gap o yung flat hole na kulang ni Wegener because of the seafloor spreading. So, ano bang meron sa seafloor spreading? Kay Wegener kasi ang focus niya is continental. But in this case, dinagdagan ni Harry Hess yung idea niya that focus more on seafloor ground or sa seafloor, how the ground or below the water spread apart. Ang sabi lang dito, a seafloor spreading theory believes that multi-material moves and the boundaries between tectonic plates pushing partner oceanic crust. It occurs at divergent boundary. So, divert, split apart. Mostly nangyayari siya sa divergent boundaries. The seafloor spreading, kayong spread, split. So this is the illustration of seafloor spreading. So this is a continental. So ang focus natin the ocean floor. So kung napapansin nyo, ayan, may mga structure tayo na makikita below. The trenches, ocean ridges. Ayan. So ito din. Ayan, more illustration lang. So this is the illustration of ocean basin floor. So again, illustration lang siya kasi nga wala naman tayong ah, very clear illustration kasi yung cover naman siya sa ng water. Ayan. So, our ocean basin is divided into multiple parts. Meron tayong, please remember this, continental shelf. Kung tatagalugin natin, ipapasimple natin siya. Si continental shelf po is just a portion na kung saan makikita siya sa pinakamalapit sa continent o sa kalupaan at yung pinakamababaw na portion lang ng ocean basin. So, continental shelf yon. Again, yung pinakamalapit sa lupa na portion ng bodies of water, then yung mas mabandang ibabaw, continental shelf yon. Then, we have also the mid-ocean ridges. Ito yung sinabi ko sa inyo, kung saan ito yung areas na unfully explored pa. Kung baga dito nag-split apart mostly nanggagaling yung mga new form rocks sa area na to, sa mid-oceanic ridges. So, ayan, sa slope, pag sinabing slope, ayan, obviously, so, mga meaning. Ayan, ayan yung mga meaning. So, more on, review, ano lang tayo. So, dito sa part na to, konti lang yung lumabas. So, terms to know lang naman siya kasi. Ayan. So, please review. Thank you. So, next, let's proceed to next lesson, which is going back to history of Earth. So in this lesson, we will focus more on the study of rocks. Sa rocks pa rin tayo nakafocus. So it includes the study of rocks and the study connected to a fossil. So kung baga, paulit-ulit na lang tayo kay rocks, kay fossil nakafocus. So isa-isahin natin. Rock layers or strata. Pag sinabi natin strata, layers or sediment rocks provided and how time changed from the beginning. So please remember this, stratigraphy, the study of layered rocks and arrangement. Mabilis siyang sa distinguish. Strata, layer of rocks. So, ayan. So, under stratigraphy, we can tap the concept of a fossil. So, kagaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo, ang pinaka-focus sa mga historian natin, mga geologists natin, and paleontologists is yung focus nila is yung kadalasan is kay sedimentary rocks. Bakit po? Si sedimentary rocks kasi, diyan natin madalas makikita yung fossils. Yes, kagaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo, kay sedimentary rocks makikita si fossils. So, kasi nga, si fossils yung pinaka main key nila to distinguish, unravel the history na hindi pa nag-exist tayo. Siyempre siya yung pinaka-aral na aral na parts. So, the layer built one up to another, compressed into bottom layers of compact. Ayan, guys, papaiksi na lang natin. So, dito tayo. Unahin muna natin yung under the concept of stratigraphy, which is the dating. So, paano inaral ng mga geologists natin or scientists natin yung or paano nila nilalagyan ng date or years or dinidate yung mismong rocks and fossils. So, that's why pupasok dito yung dalawang types na ginamit nila, which is the relative dating and absolute dating. Yung tinutukoy ko na dating dito, how they provide years, kung mas nauna ba siya or mas recent lang siya na nag-exist na rock, na fossil. So, yun po, dalawa siya. So, we have the relative and absolute. So, papasimplihin natin siya. Pag relative po is tansyahan lang. So, ibig sabihin, pag tansyahan, hindi siya yung pinaka-accurate na way to identify whether that specific fossil or a rocks is mas bago, mas older, or mas newer. So, yun po, hindi siya pinaka-accurate. But, of course, kabaliktaran niya is the absolute dating. Ibig sabihin, may batayan. So, they use chemistry or specific science ko. Sa chemistry kasi, science dito sa chemistry, pwedeng madaming way para magamit, para makakuha tayo ng sample or basis. Ma-date yung isang soil or a fossil. So, pwedeng yung sample na protein or na amino acid, pwede namang gamitin yung mismong, tawag dito, the temperature. Pwede namang gamitin yung mga isotopes and so on. So, ibig sabihin, as compared with relative dating, mas accurate siya, mas kapani-paniwala kasi nga may basis siya. So, sige, try natin siya explain further. So, unahin muna natin si relative dating. So, si relative dating, yung principle na under sa kanya is apat po. Meron tayong tinatawag na superposition, lateral continuity, cross-cutting, principle of horizontality, law of lateral continuity, and principle of cross. So, ayan. So, apat nga siya na mention ko kanina. Ang pinakamadaling way dito or pinakauna sa apat na principle na na-mention dito is si superposition. Ang logic lang is that, ang sinasabi sa superposition is that yung pinaka sa bandang ibaba, so example kay A, siya yung pinakaluma or pinaka-old or mas naunang nabuo na rock rather than kay E, which is si E siya yung pinasabandang itaas. So, ibig sabihin, si letter E siya yung parang kakabuo lang na rocks, na layer ng rocks na yon. So, yun po. So, ibig sabihin, the oldest one here is the letter A followed by B and followed by D, the color C and A. So, kung kung pagbabatayan lang natin yung law of superposition. Pero 'pag pinagbatayan naman natin is the principle of horizontality means that the layer of sediments are generally deposited in horizontal position. So, eto, si letter D. So, hindi kasi lahat ng layers ng rocks is nag-e-equal together. Hindi naman pantay-pantay yon. So, kumbaga, may portion na medyo old or may portion naman na bago. So, kasi nga continuously nangyayari si geologic events. So, hindi masyado doon pa lang parang alam na natin na sobrang hirap niyang i-distinguish pagtantsahan lang. Next is the law of lateral continuity. It states that the layers of sediments initially extend the lateral or all direction and other they are laterally continuous. So, almost similar lang din siya dito kanina. Is that ito, 'pag sing sila kumbaga kung sa banda dito sa naputol sa cross-cutting na area, kung dito si C is 300 years old, kunwari lang ha, 300 years old dito, dito sa portion naman 'to, automatic 300 years old. So, pare-pareho lang kasi nga yung patayan natin is continuous nga. So, kumbaga kung ano yung sa kabila, gano'n din sa kabila. Then, principle of cross-cutting. Sa cross-cutting naman, ito madalas 'to nangyayari sa, may mga layers ng rocks na mahirap i-distinguish. Kumbaga, ito si D puwede siyang bago, puwede siyang luma. Kumbaga, coming from a cracked rock, yung na-crack na rock is maybe 'di natin siya ma-identify kung anong mas nauna sa kanila. Pero coming from the label here, A, B, C, D, kung ika-categorize natin, ang pinaka-proper na way talaga dito, si A being the oldest, B being the second oldest, followed by C. Yes, C tayo kasi nga dito makikita yung mga inclusions or yung mga fossils natin. Then si D kasi nagkaroon ng crack, ibig sabihin medyo may nag-fill inan or nagkaroon ng bagong layer si rocks, and then of course automatic ito yung pinaka-obvious sa lahat na si letter E sa itaas, siya yung pinaka youngest one. So medyo tricky lang sa part na 'to. So, again, ito yung naging batayan lang niya, relative dating. Generally, again, sabi ko sa inyo, relative dating is not the pinaka-basis, yung absolute way. Siya yung pinaka-tansyahan lang, assume lang. Hindi siya, ibig sabihin, hindi siya talaga yung pinaka-best way para gamitin para ma-identify yung exact number or years ng mismong rocks or fossils. So, next we have the absolute dating. So, kaya yung sabi ko sa inyo, actual age of rocks or a fossil. So, meron tayong madaming way. So, again, kung gamit tayo ng chemistry, so we have, ang pinakauna dito is the radiometric dating. So, dito sa radiometric dating is ipapasok natin yung paggamit ng isotopes. Ayan, isotopes. So, si isotopes po is generally makikita siya sa living organisms. Lahat tayo merong isotopes or anything po. So, let's have an example. Dinosaur. So, si dinosaur, may sample na dinosaur. Kung ako yung scientist, ang gagawin ko, kukuha ako ng sample sa sa sa, sa dinosaur na discover ko na fossil. Tapos, kukunin ko yung isotope ng mismong dinosaur. So, ano ba si isotope? Sa chemistry po kasi class, lahat ng elements na meron tayo, car, hydrogen, helium, lithium, lahat ng elements po sa table of elements, may mga isotopes yan. So, pero tayo na may mga living organism, we are abundant with carbon. Kasi nga, siya yung building blocks ng lahat ng bagay. Example, carbohydrates, kung baga lipids, proteins, lahat yan binubuo sila ng carbon. So, may carbon, lahat may carbon. So, ibig sabihin, pag namatay yung dinosaur na yon is may ma-discover tayo na isotopes ng carbon. So, which is, papasok dito si carbon 12, 13, and 14. But, mas gamit na gamit dito si carbon 14. So, Bakit? Si carbon-14 kasi that one is uh, tawag dito, unstable form or isotope of a carbon. So, continuously, pag namatay kasi yung isang organism, pag mas matagal siya, pababa ng pababa yung presence of carbon-14 sa mismong organism na yun. So, yun po yung naging batayan ng mga chemist natin. Kung baga, yung si dinosaur, kung kakamatay niya lang, ibig sabihin, buong-buo pa yung isotope sa kanya. Pero 'pag umabot na ng 10,000 years, kalahati na lang yung maiiwan na isotope sa kanya. Paano pa yung mga next generation kung kumbaga nagde-decline yung number of isotopes mismo from the given time. So yun po yung naging batayan ng mga chemists natin or scientists natin to distinguish whether that specific fossil or rocks is older, kung gaano siya katagal. So medyo may batayan po as compared with a relative dating. So, yun po. We have the carbon, potassium. Hindi lang po si carbon yung pwedeng batayan natin. Ha? Madami pong isotope. Kaya sabi ko sa inyo. Pero mas well explored si carbon kasi siya yung basis sa lahat ng may living organisms, including us. Next also, we have the amino acid. Hindi lang po isotope yung naging batayan natin. Pwede din pong kunin na batayan si amino acid. 'Di ba? As remember, amino acid is the building blocks of protein. Wherein tayo, lahat ng mga living organism is may protina. Tayo, sa skin natin, collagen is example of a protein. Ibig sabihin, may amino acid siya. So, yun po. So, madami pa sa katawan natin. Ang idea naman dito about sa amino acid dating is almost similar to radioactive decay. So, ang nangyayari kasi dito is that, kung kakamatay lang yung mismo organism na yon, in the next year is nahahati din siya pababa ng pababa yung number of amino acids sa katawan natin. Amino acid dating is dating technique used to estimate the age of specimen and paleobiology molecules. So mostly dito, ginagamit siya sa living organisms. Yes, living organisms lang talaga. Organisms lang naman. Kasi, 'pag namatay yung isang organism, hindi naman continuously agad nawawala yung amino acid. Andiyan siya. Kumbaga paunti-unti lang siya nawawala. So, yun lang yung pinakabatayan ng mga chemist natin. Ayun, scientist natin. So, yun po. Ito yung mga common amino acids po sa katawan natin. And even, we have the phenylalanine, alanine, leucine, isoleucine, so tryptophan, phenylalanine. So, ito yung mga common essential, semi-essential, and non-essential amino acids. So, again, mabubuo yung isang protein 'pag nagsama-sama itong mga amino acids na 'to, depende kung ano yung pagkakasunod-sunod nila. Pero kadalasan, starting codon equivalent of amino acid is the methionine. So, si methionine kadalasan yung pinaka-building blocks po. So, madami-dami pa yan. So, i-mention nyo din yan sa chemistry and your grade 12 na. So, dichronology. So, dito naman, yung ginamit naman dito is the trunk. So, ayun, hindi ko na siya discuss since almost same basis lang din siya coming from the center of the tree. Ayan, we have the thermal luminescence. So, ito naman, the use of heat. So, to distinguish. Ayun. So, sige, medyo mahaba-haba ng discussion natin. Then, next we have, let's discuss the next part, which is the geologic time scale. So, eto, pina-activity na natin to in multiple ways dun sa games pa lang, tsaka yung sa pinakauna. Para ma-remember nyo, kasi medyo madami-dami dito yung lumabas, so sumakto din siya. So, this one is a pie graph. Ayan. So, sa pie graph, kung nakikita nyo, in a pie graph, ito yung hatian kung gaano katagal nangyari yung mismong event. So, we have the Proterozoic, Archean, and Hadean. Itong tatlong to, pag pinagsama-sama si Hadean, Archean, and Proterozoic, they are called also known as Precambrian. So, ganun siya katagal, sobrang tagal ng Precambrian. Kumbaga, ito yung collective eons na kung saan puro exploration lang, puro diversification, magki-create ng bagong organism, mawawala. Nagda-divert siya coming from the beginning. Wherein, Phanerozoic, ditong iyon tayo ngayon, 12% lang siya sa history. So, ibig sabihin, sobrang bago natin. I mean, sobrang bago pa siya. So, yun po. Ito yung itsura ni geologic timescale. Kung baga, in-scale up natin sa simula kung paano nabuo sa Earth until now. So, pag tinanong tayo kung saang iyon, yung tanong ha, kung saang iyon tayo, we are under Phanerozoic. Ayan, Phanerozoic. Pero pag tinanong naman tayo kung anong era tayo, anong isasagot, we are under Cenozoic. Kasi era naman yung tinatanong eh. Pero lahat ng may zoic is era. Pero pag tinanong na naman tayo kung saang period tayo under, ang sasagot, quaternary or quaternary. Pero pag tinanong naman tayo, saang epoch tayo under, so ang sasagot natin under Holocene. Ayan. So, careful tayo sa tanungan kung iyon ba, era, period, and epoch. Okay po? So, again, under siya sa geologic timescale. So, this is a visual illustration lang po ng mga common living organism na nag-exist po sa history natin. So, kung napapansin nyo, during Hadean, wala talaga pa. Kasi dito pa lang yung experimentation of creation of our planet. Wherein, our first living organism created, which is a cyanobacteria, is nabuo siya here in Archean Aeon. So, continuously, kung napapansin nyo, nag-evolve from a single cell into a multi-singular organisms that we have right now. So, full of explorations po. Ayan. So, continuously yan. So, sige, next tayo. So, ayun. Aeon being the longest, eras followed by periods and epochs. So, ito yung na-mention ko kanina sa inyo. So, i-discuss natin isa-isa yung nalaman ng geologic timescale. Pero hindi ko naman siya full na i-discuss pa since kaya nyo na itong basahin. I-highlight ko lang yung mga pinakamahalaga. Ayan. Unahin natin sa pinaka-oldest, coming from the formation of the Earth. So, tandaan nyo, muna is during Hadean, di ba pinagawa ko to sa inyo, wala pang organism or anything na nangyayari or any organism na na-create, just a full of exploration and creation of our planet. So, ang pinaka-evidence lang na nakita dito is the formation of zircon crystal. So, ito yung batayan ng mga paleontologists and generally scientists natin na nagsasabi na nag-exist si Hadean that time kasi because of the discovery of zircon crystal. Ano po si zircon crystal? Crystal siya. Siya yung crystal na hindi basta lumimelt. Hindi siya basta-basta naapektuhan ng extreme heat. So, siya yung natatanging evidence na nagsasabi that Hadean eons exist. Then, we have the Archean eon under Precambrian. Again, remember, dito po create or nag-start yung life natin. Starting from a cyanobacteria or Erlobacteria, pero yung pinaka-proper na tawag sa kanya is cyanobacteria, kung saan na-discover yung cyanobacteria na yun sa rocks, of course. May rock na siya or to be specific, tinatawag nating stromatolites. Yes po, stromatolite, siya yung fossil na nakita doon sa mga rocks that time. So, stromatolites na oldest known rock. So, ito nga siya, stromatolites yon. So, ayan yung mga remnants natin. Next, we have the Proterozoic. So, dito, medyo nag-explore na nagkaroon na tayo ng complexity of cell. Hindi na siya single cell organism, hindi lang bacteria. But of course, nag-create ng more diverse life. Ito yung kanina na-mention ko sa inyo. By the end of Proterozoic eon, na-create po yung pinaka-dalawang unang supercontinent aside kay Pangaea. Pinakauna, si Rodinia. And in the given time, nag-split apart si Rodinia being the supercontinent. Then, na-create si Panusha. Yes po. Then, this Panusha continuously is na-create din si Nuna. So, pag tinanong kayo, meron pa mga oldest one. Kung ang sasagot nyo talaga dapat, what is the oldest supercontinent? The possible answer you will answer dapat is si Rodinia, followed by Panusha, Nuna, and Pangaea. Pero hindi siya inaral na masyado kasi nga ancient na siya. Hindi siya, dahil nga sobrang tagal, hindi na siya finokus ng mga scientist natin. Nakafocus na kay Pangaea, especially si Wegener, pinocus niya kay Pangaea. Yun. Then, eto yung na-mention ko kanina sa inyo, the Great Dying. So, nangyari siya by the next eon, which is the Phanerozoic Eon. Ayan, Phanerozoic Eon. Under Phanerozoic Eon is nahahati na siya into, na pagkatapos ng eon, into Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. Unahin muna natin si Paleozoic. So, under Paleozoic po, dito, pagkatapos ng Paleozoic era, dito nag-end or nag-end siya into Great Dying. Ito na-mention ko kanina sa inyo that Great Dying, yung pinaka-greatest mass extinction sa history is not about the entrance of the asteroid in our planet Earth, but due to the changes of convection current. Yes, basahin natin. The Great Dying, ayan ako natakpan siya. Ay, wait lang. Natakpan siya ng skin record ko. In the history is due to massive volcanic eruption caused by convection current in the mass of 90% of living organism and of Paleozoic era. Tandaan niyo siya ha. End of Paleozoic era. So, great dying yan. Mostly kasi dito, 90% kasi that time, yung mga diversified organism is nasa lupa pa. Including sa tubig din, meron. So, i-highlight ko yung mga pinaka-important dito. Pagkatapos ng Proterozoic iyon, doon na nagkaroon ng more diverse life pa. Mas dumami yung mga organism na kakaiba yung itsura that time. So, ayun. Sikat na sikat din that time yung tinatawag nating orogeny. Ang pag sinabi nating orogeny, yan yung pagkakaroon ng mountain building. Yun, yung mga mountain na alam natin, meron pa mga ancient mountain. Itong tatlong to yung pinakasikat lagi. Si Taconic, Akkadian, and Alter Orogeny. So, because of these mountain buildings, is siya continuously din nagbi-build yung mga small mountains that we have. Ayun, kung napapansin nyo, ang nangyayari yung mga primitive, ang mga sinuunang isda, is nawala na sila with the end of Silurian. So, this one is the eras and epochs na po. So, by the end of period, ayun, sorry, by the end of periods is nawala, yung iba nag-extinct. The reason nagkaroon ng extinction kasi nga dumadami yung organism na doon na nangyayari yung pagkain, I mean yung tawag dito,